Hey, welcome again to Research Cruise with Dr. Lexi. In this video, we are going to be looking at the part 2 of our data analysis for starters. The first thing that we are going to be looking at is our data cleaning, which is not that complicated. The one that we are going to be doing is not complicated because we are not going to be dealing with a large data. But if you are dealing with a large data, you have to get more materials on how to actually deal with data cleaning. But we are just going to do a simple data cleaning in this video. So just sit back while we enjoy the video together. So the data cleaning, we are going to be using our Excel for now. And from there, we can now see how we can actually now use our status. Remember that we are dealing with panel data in this video. The first thing is how your data for panel is going to look like. Let me just try and run a little thing and you're now going to see a full picture of what I want to do. This is my Excel. The first thing that you have to put here, the first column at the first row, you have to put the company if you are dealing with company. If you are not dealing with company, maybe you are dealing with country, you can name it as anything. You can name it as country also. The second thing is your year, so you write your year. The remaining thing that you now have to write is your dependent variable, your independent variable, your control variable. So it depends on the kind of research that you are doing. So after this, you are going to write the name of the companies that you are dealing with, the years that you are dealing with, and all that. This level, I will advise that your observation is 100. And how do you get 100? Let's say, for instance, you are dealing with 10 companies. That means you are going to deal with 10 years. For each company, you are going to be looking at the 10 years of that company. For the second one to 10 years. So if you multiply 10 years, multiply by 10 companies, you are going to have what? 100 observation. Or you can actually still have 20 companies and 5 years, right? Multiply them, you still have the minimum threshold of 100 observation for a panel data. But for this video, we are not going to be using up to that. Let's now look at a typical data that I've collected for the data analysis. In this data, we are trying to look at the impact of corporate governance on sustainability reporting disclosure, right? As you can see, this is the bank, this is the year, this is our dependent variable now, which is the sustainability reporting disclosure, and these three are the corporate governance indicators, and this one is our control variable. In this data, we looked at 3 years for each bank, right? From 2014 to 2015 to 2016 for access, right? Diamond and all that, right? With this is a typical data cleaning that we've done. There's no issue with this data because it's not large at all, right? So we're not going to have issues. But once your data is large, you have to be very careful with how you compute it to try to clean it up and all that. Let's look at how it's going to look like in our data, and that's what we want to be looking at now. So if you look at my tax bar, I have two status here. I have status 15 and I have status 18, and you can actually just try and download online to get your own version of Stita. In this case, I will click on my Stita. Welcome to Stita World. One of the things that we are going to be looking at it, which is very, very important. You can explore all these things. This is not the purpose of this video, but the two main things that is going to be very important here is this: our data editor and our do file editor. This do file is when you can write small codes, and this data editor is when you can actually transfer your data from Excel to Starter, right? In this case, I've already written all the code that you are going to be using. You don't have to stress yourself, right? What we are going to be using data to do is just to run first our descriptive statistics, and the second thing is our correlation matrix. These are the two things that are very important when you are starting your data analysis. So I'll just put it through on how to do your descriptive statistics and your correlation matrix. Let's go back to our Excel. This is the data that we have from our Excel, so we can just copy everything from your Excel, come back to starter, so you click on the data editor, and this is our data editor. It's just like an Excel sheet. Since we've copied, just a Ctrl V. Look at this instruction. Remember that the first name contains the name of the variable, so you can just say name of the variable for the first name. So you can see now we still have our bank here, sustainability reporting disclosure, corporate governance indicator, which is board number, board independent, and board committee. And we now have Tobin key, which is trying to measure the value of the business. Data only recognizes numbers. Any strings, any letter is going to reflect them as red. In this case, I'm going to tell you how you are going to deal with it when we get to subsequent data analysis. But for this purpose, you don't have to worry about this red. Let's now do our descriptive and our correlation. I have the code already. I'm going to share the code with us in the comment section. So let me just take you through this small code. It's not complicated at all. If you are using your data for the first time, please, you have to install this thing, which are going to be very important when we are dealing with our descriptive and our correlation, because you will want your result to come out very okay. You first install this, and how do you install it? You highlight. Once you highlight and you come to this arrow, execute selection, so you just click on it and it's going to run, and ensure that you have an internet so that is going to install. Let's go back to the main starter interface. Look at this section, this variable. You know that once we extracted the data to starter, you are going to have all these things. Remember, this is our dependent variable, and if you look at our code, so this code is like a universal code. This first two things is helping us to say that, oh, the first stuff that we have, which is the sustainability reporting disclosure, is our dependent variable. Whereby the second one, which is X list, is trying to list out our independent variables, and the Z list is trying to list out our control variable. Let's now look at how our descriptive statistics is going to look like. Highlight it from the beginning, and once you highlight it, just come to this execute selection, click on it, and on the left hand side you are going to see the outcome of our code that we've just run. Right, the thing is, this is how it's going to show on Stata, but you want to transfer it to your Microsoft Word. Code that we installed earlier on has already helped us to do that. So you just click on my file doc, right? It's going to open in your Microsoft Word automatically. So, and that's what I'm trying to show you now. So this is our descriptive statistics in Microsoft Word. And see that observation here is 30, right? Because we use 3 years for 10 companies. That's why we have 30. Yours must be 100, at least 100, right? This is our mean value, this is our standard deviation, this is our minimum value, this is our maximum value, right? And you can actually just interpret it. The second one is correlation matrix, right? Since we already highlighted this one, so it's already stored in our data, so you can actually just come to our correlation matrix also. So in this case, I want the correlation matrix to be for dependent variable, independent variable, and let me add the control variable too, so that that one too is going to be captured. You have the $sign, and just highlight it, come to execute selection, click on it, and if you look at the left hand side, you're going to see the correlation for it to come out in Microsoft Word. So you just click on it also, like we did for the first one, correlate. Have our correlation, which is the correlation between the dependent variable, the independent variables, and the control variable.